A journey to Serenity. By the time I stepped outside, the sky was a canvas of orange and red. The towering oak tree in the center of the neighborhood was ablaze. As I dashed from the house, the heavy backpack on my shoulders thumped against my back, the supplies inside clattering with each hurried step. I glanced back to see neighbors fleeing, smoke billowing into the air. I had to keep moving. I flung open the car door and slid into the driver's seat, placing the bag filled with essentials in the passenger side. Distant shouts echoed in the chaos. I pressed the accelerator. I couldn't afford to miss that train. It might be the last one for a while. Arriving at the train station, I spotted a young mother struggling to calm her wailing child. A man sat quietly on a nearby bench, lost in thought. I stepped out of my car, glancing at the sign that read the next train would arrive in just 2 minutes. Perfect timing. The mother sat down, and I took a seat beside her. She cradled her baby, soothing the child's cries, and turned to me. "This place has really fallen apart, hasn't it?" she remarked, her voice tinged with worry. I nodded in agreement. "It really has." The train pulled into the station, its doors sliding open. No one disembarked. The mother and I boarded, finding seats next to each other. A teenage girl sat a few rows ahead, tears streaming down her face, while a boy her age comforted her. The baby finally drifted off to sleep. "What's your baby's name?" I asked the mother, glancing at her child. "Lunar," she replied, a smile breaking through her concern. "That's a lovely name." "What about you?" she inquired. "Rear," I answered. "I'm MIA," she said, her warmth radiating. She had curly brown hair that framed her face beautifully, and her eyes sparkled with kindness. We talked for hours, sharing our meager snacks of an apple and a sandwich. As night fell, we found ourselves the last passengers on the train, still an hour away from our destination. It turned out MIA was headed to the same area I was. At my stop, she decided to join me. "I didn't have a specific plan, just needed to escape for a bit," she said, glancing back toward the city we were leaving behind. The moon hung high, casting a silvery glow. We walked until we found a small motel. "A room with 2 beds, please," I requested at the front desk. We ordered takeout and settled into our beds, watching a movie and munching on fries. I awoke the next morning to sunlight streaming through the curtains and the soft hum of the TV. MIA and Lunar were still asleep. I turned up the volume and listened to the news. Wildfires have been spreading from California to Washington, devastating towns and leaving thousands homeless. The fires are advancing rapidly, creating hazardous air quality across the region, the anchor reported, a map of the affected areas displayed behind him. I quickly got dressed and emerged from the bathroom to find MIA awake, tending to Lunar, her hair in a messy bun yet still radiating beauty. "Rear, let's grab some breakfast," she suggested. We headed to a cozy cafe, where I ordered a bagel while she opted for tea and eggs. The cafe was adorned with vibrant plants, and a small succulent graced our table. After finishing our meal, we bought bottled water, knowing we would need it. We made a quick stop at the grocery store for diapers and medical supplies before boarding another train, determined to head deeper into Washington. The fires were not only moving north but also spreading eastward. The train to Spokane was crowded, but a kind man offered his seat to MIA and Lunar. Eventually, the crowd thinned, and I joined them. Upon arriving in Spokane, we stocked up on non-perishable food and other essentials. We ventured toward a nearby forest, hoping to find a safe haven. After some searching, we stumbled upon a campsite. "Do you have any cabins available?" I asked the attendant at the front desk. "Yes, we do. It's a quiet time of year, especially with everything going on," he replied, his tone somber. "We'll take it," I said, handing over the payment. He led us down a picturesque path through a meadow bursting with wildflowers. A charming two-story cabin came into view, its wooden exterior blending beautifully with the surroundings. "Wow," Mia whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. Luna giggled in delight. The attendant handed us the key and departed. Inside, the cabin was spacious. We dropped our bags on a rustic table and began exploring. I claimed the smaller bedroom with a large window and a cozy yellow bed, while Mia chose the room with a blue bed. Later that night, I awoke to the sound of soft sniffling. Curious and concerned, I quietly opened my door and made my way down the staircase. There, I found Mia sitting at the kitchen table, tears streaming down her cheeks. I approached her gently, wrapping my arms around her shoulders. "Mia, what's wrong?" I asked softly. "I miss my family," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I've been trying to be strong for Luna, but it's hard. My parents, they never accepted me after I had her. They kicked me out, and I've been on my own ever since." I felt a pang of empathy for her. "I'm so sorry," I said, squeezing her tighter. "You're not alone anymore. You have Luna, and you have me." She looked up at me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Thank you, Rear. It just feels so overwhelming sometimes." I made her a cup of tea, and we settled on the couch, wrapped in a blanket. We talked late into the night, sharing stories of our pasts, our dreams, and our fears. I learned about Mia's life before the chaos, how she had hoped for a brighter future, and how she had fought to keep Luna safe. As the warmth of the tea and our conversation enveloped us, I felt a deep connection forming between us. I fell asleep with my head resting on her shoulder, comforted by the bond we were building. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window, waking me gently. I found myself still curled up on the couch, the blanket draped over us. Mia was awake, her hair tousled and a soft smile on her face as she watched Luna play on the floor. "Good morning, sleepyhead," she said, her voice light. "I made some breakfast. There's toast and fruit if you're hungry." I stretched and smiled back at her. "That sounds perfect." We shared a simple breakfast, laughing as Luna babbled happily, her little hands reaching for the fruit. After breakfast, we decided to explore the surrounding area. The meadow outside was alive with color, and we wandered through the flowers, letting Luna crawl and giggle in the grass. We took turns picking wildflowers, creating a small bouquet for our cabin. "This place is beautiful," I said, admiring the vibrant blooms. "It feels peaceful here, away from everything." Mia nodded, her eyes sparkling as she watched Luna play. "It really does. I think we needed this escape more than we realized." She picked a bright yellow flower and tucked it behind Luna's ear, making the baby giggle. As we wandered deeper into the meadow, we stumbled upon a small stream, its water glistening in the sunlight. The sound of the gentle flow was soothing, and we decided to sit on the grassy bank for a while. I watched as Mia dipped her fingers into the cool water, splashing a few drops playfully at Luna, who squealed in delight. "Do you think we'll be safe here?" Mia asked, her tone shifting slightly as she looked out at the water. "I mean, with everything happening back home." I took a deep breath, considering her question. "I think we're safe for now. We have each other, and we can figure things out as we go. We'll keep Luna safe, no matter what." Mia smiled, her expression softening. "You're right. I just want to give her a good life, away from all this chaos." We spent the rest of the afternoon exploring the area, collecting more wildflowers and enjoying the fresh air. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, we returned to the cabin. That evening, we decided to have a little celebration for Luna's first birthday, which was just around the corner. We gathered supplies from the grocery store and made a simple cake using the ingredients we had. As we mixed the batter, We laughed and shared stories about our favorite birthday memories. Once the cake was in the oven, we set up a small picnic in the living room, laying out a blanket and arranging the food we had. Luna crawled around, her laughter filling the space with joy. After dinner, we pulled the cake out of the oven, letting it cool while we cleaned up. Once it was ready, we decorated it with some wildflowers we had picked earlier. It wasn't fancy, but it was made with love. Happy early birthday, Lunar, we cheered as we placed the cake in front of her. She clapped her hands, her eyes wide with excitement. Mia and I sang a little birthday song, and when we finished, we helped Lunar blow out the imaginary candles. We each took a piece of cake, and as we sat